Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. So the great flood has already happened and destroyed, and now they have to replenish the earth. And these are the sons that God used to do that. A lot of people that use their mind would say that was just a section of the world. But it tells you the whole world, and it's not talking about the known world, it's talking about the globe, see. So it didn't just happen in one place of the globe, but it was all over. So these are the main ones, and Ham, Shem is supposed to be the Caucasians, as they say. See, and then Ham was the black, darker race of people, and basically in Africa. And Japheth, they started in Europe, but they spread off to the east, and to us it would be the west. They're over into where China and all those places are. And unto them were sons born after the flood. So this was when the population started going again. So this is God working through them to repopulate the world and to gain him a people that would serve him and glorify him and lift him up and make him known. And we look, there's what's in the 10th, 11 and 10 says, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. So 2 years after the flood, his son Arphaxad was born. See, so this started Sham's descendants. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abraham, and Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begat Lot. So Lot was the nephew of Abraham. I believe Abraham was the oldest of the group. And then it says in the 31st, and Terah took Abraham, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law, his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. So this is showing that they were in Ur, but then they'd start traveling. And Terah was with them. So what happened to cause them to move, it could have been anything of problems, because one of the authors, when he says people came from Europe, landed on the east coast of the United States, and the cities started getting so crowded, people were trying to get out of there to find room and space for themselves. And we know that a lot of people that came to this country, they were people fleeing from some problem or the burdens of taxation, and they wanted to go find something, get relief. So something always caused people to move. And so it didn't really say what, but you can just use your imagination on some things. And he started out with his son Abraham. And then we know when he went to Haran, that's where Terah died, there in Haran. And I think he was about 205 years old, I believe. And so they left Ur, heading off to go where they were, and Ur was old Babylon. See, as you would know it, near, and today that would be like a lot of your Arab people over there now. And then that 32nd verse says, and the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Now, God had told him in the beginning to leave the land, to leave the country, your kindred, and all. See, now Abraham had promises, but you read later in the book Bible where God didn't give him his final blessings until he actually separated from Lot, because he was still a kinsman, a nephew, and he had to separate from everything. So God started finishing some of his blessings when you start studying down through the Bible later. And but like the scriptures say, God is always working. So God never stops. See, because men have problems and they get into things and they displease God, but God's mercy and his love for mankind is always trying to figure a way to get us back. Now, I know when I was 9 years old, I got filled with the Holy Ghost when they were building Market Street over there, but we were working with Pop Phillips on Pine Street until they finished building Market Street, 3032 Market. And my sisters got saved first, and then, now my mother never got saved till late in her life. But the point is, God was working through the family, and he started saving in the family at 9 years old. Then I got into fighting school, backslid, didn't have a mother to grab my hand. My sister didn't understand to get me and say, "You repenting, come on here." See, so I got to playing baseball and got interested in those things, and life went on until later, or in my early 20s, my first half of the 20s, the Lord called me back into it. So God is always working, trying to help us. He didn't forget me, just like he didn't forget Israel. And he didn't forget even the Gentiles, see, because he made great promises. Always working. And then we always praying, crying out to God for something. So it keep him busy, see. And then he had to figure out, can I answer this prayer? Because is their heart right? So God is always working, his mind is going, and everything else, because some people are not sincere with God. But then he has to pick out through that who's really sincere. See, who really want to answer God. So we got a God that is busy. Like they say, a lot of these women, they have 9, 10, 15, 20, and I knew a family had 21, and one had 22 children. So you know that mother was busy all the time. You wonder, where does she ever get rest or anything like that, see? But God is greater than that, because he don't slumber neither sleep. And he don't get tired. But we in these old bodies, we get tired. And sometimes the mother get up early in the morning, have to fix the food. I remember my grandmother getting up in Arkansas, had a wooden stove, and she had to get the fire started, and then she got to get the kettle on, and then she got to get the biscuits made up, and then she got to get the salt pork and boil it to get all the salt up, because they didn't use bacon. That was their bacon. She had a busy thing, and then she had to think about washing clothes, making beds, and then the others go off to the field, see? So that's busy. So we can imagine what God is going through. God's going through a lot because for us and for his love for us. Like mothers for their families, they do a lot, see? And some things I wouldn't think about putting up with what women put up with, see? But anyway, in the days of Terah, it tells us, and Terah took Abraham his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law, his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth with them unto her from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. So they lived there a while. So he haven't totally separated from everything. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Now, he lost his father. He separated, but he still got Lot. See, because his brother Haran eventually died. See. Now, the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. Now, Abraham knew nothing about this, so you know it takes faith. When somebody speaks to you and you don't know nothing, and you don't question and say, listen, I don't know nobody there. See? But you go anyway. See, that's faith. You don't question it, you just go. So he must have recognized God as being a great man like Saul did on the road to Damascus. He heard that voice, and then first thing he says, Who art thou? And he said, Lord. So he knew this was a great person talking to him. And Abraham must have sensed that too. So he took off. And then the second verse they say in that 12th chapter, And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Now this is 7 promises God give him in this lesson. 7 promises. And we always say 7 is a complete number. So when I was studying, I wrote it down. It says, number 1, I will make thee a great nation. That's number 1. Then number 2 says, I will bless thee. And then number 3 says, I will make thy name great. Then number 4 says, thou shalt be a blessing. See. And then number 5 said, I will make thee a blessing that bless you. See, a blessing that bless you, or those that bless you. And then 6 says, I will curse him that curse thee. See, that's number 6. And number 7 says, in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So that's covering the whole globe. See? So this is what God concerned for us. He's just not concerned about one person. He's so busy, he's concerned about everybody. Sometimes I sit up before I go to bed and I said, Lord, look at all these people on the earth, and you got to deal with every last one of them and me. See, so that's amazing. See, when I had dogs, I had a rough time trying to keep up with 1 or 2 dogs. See, and God's setting up here with all those that are born in the world, so he is always working and never ceasing. See, so these are things we have to look up and realize how great God really is, and how far and wide his love spreads and how deep it goes. Because some of us have been terrible. See, and when we read this Bible, some of the worst folk have been terrible. Now, when he turned around and showed about faith, if you have faith in God, he don't care who you are, faith moves God. Because we look back and look at the harlot Rahab, who got to be a part of the lineage of the Savior of the world. Now, they counted her a horrible woman. See, but the point is, when she took faith of what she heard about what had happened across the Jordan and the Red Sea, see, all that stuck in her mind, and she left her own people to protect those that she heard about how great their God was and how he moved and worked for them. See, God's always working. He's working then for Rahab. And Rahab married Solomon, and Solomon took up and had Boaz. Then Boaz and Ruth had Obed. Then Obed had Jesse, and Jesse had David. Look at how God is moving down through genealogies and taking the Gentiles and bringing them in, because Ruth was a Moabite. And God brought her in through Naomi, who introduced her to Boaz. See? Look how God started blending and bringing the Gentiles into the system little by little. God's mind is so great and so vast, I just have to sit back and be in awe. And he's planning for your life, planning for your life, and planning for my life, and then even your children and all. I mean, he is a busy God. See, and I have to admire him for that. I have to lift him up and honor him for that. See, just like you do find a woman and a man that does what they do for their children, you have to respect that person. They didn't throw them away. See? They didn't have an abortion and cast them out. They kept that disrespect they gained from the people and kept their child alive and went on, and some of those children got to be great people, mayors and governors and owners of great industries and businesses, all these kind of things, and the places that he put those people. And if you had aborted them, where would they be? And Rahab can be mentioned, see, a Gentile, a nobody, a dog, so to speak, an enemy to God, and have faith, and God turns around right on faith and have to take note of you when you have faith in him. God's always working, and he never quit. See, his eyes is up on everything. He's looking at bad and good, good and bad. See? And then he's looking at the one that turned from their badness and realize he's got to gravitate to them because they honor him and turn around. See? Then he got to deal with the one that start out with him and the one that turns away from him. See, and have to deal with what he's got to deal with. They started good and honorable, just like Solomon. Solomon started out great, but he disobeyed everything God said in the book of Exodus, I believe 34th chapter, and then when you go into the 17th chapter, of Deuteronomy. He told him 3 things not to do, and he broke every last one of them. And yet, God looked at David and said, because of David, I'm going to leave you here, but I'm going to take the kingdom from your son. See? And split it, and took a servant, Rehoboam, and gave 10 parts when Ahijah the prophet came and caught Jeroboam in his new garment, had on his new suit going down the road. Took it off of him, cut it up in 10 pieces, and say, here, you're going to have 10 parts. But I'm going to leave a light with Rehoboam. See, bad as his father was, and the way Rehoboam listened to the youth that didn't have any experience about nothing and messed up the kingdom. See. Then Rehoboam didn't obey God. See, he went off because he said they're going to go back down there to Jerusalem, and I'm going to lose them. So I got to go up here and make a golden calf, and I got to put a place in Bethel and Dan or Shechem, whichever one it was, and keep their mind. See, so he turned from God, didn't do what God said. But look, God is still looking at that. And a day he's going to pull them all back. Some don't know who they are. But when he finishes, he's going to bring them right back. See, because he's working constantly in his love toward mankind. That's the kind of God we serve. And then it says in that second, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. When you go and talk about Abraham, most everybody ain't been to church and never been in church and heard about Abraham. His name has gotten to be renowned. Great, see. That's what God have done with people in the Bible. Rahab, see, sitting there, but her name comes up. See, when you go in there and look at Deborah and Barak's name is not so, but God put him in the Hall of Fame and brought his name up. See, people have gotten famous because God made it so. Now, if you come to this church, anybody say, Mother, is that Alicia? Militia, a word. Oh, we know her. We know her. Oh, she's fiery, and she gets up and she raises her voice and she just goes forward. See, God makes you known by people. See, he makes you known. F.D. Washington, a great manuscript preacher, see, who came from Dermont, Arkansas. His father was the pastor then. And God raised him up. He was kind of mischief child. But God raised him up and moved him to New York City, and he got renowned. Everybody knew about the preaching of F.D. Washington. See, that know of his day. God makes you renowned. See, when you have faith in him and do things, your name starts ringing. Even men that don't know God have gotten to be renowned. Obama, the first president, black. Now, he's famous everywhere now, because he's the first, see. Because God does that. He has no respect to person, but he does what suits him. And we can be affected by it if we lift him up. And that's what we have. And it says, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Look what he did for Abraham. Going through there, he was his protection. Now, Abraham didn't always think he was safe because of the things he did. How much time I got? Pardon. This is lesson 7 to 14, today 14. Yeah. God's always working. Okay. But anyway, that's what God is to us, and we can be to him. Yes, sir. Well, yes, because see, God is his protection, number one, and he's his stability, and he's going to stand behind his word. See, God made these promises, to Abraham. And God's going to keep them. Now, some of these things are not conditional with Abraham. See? Because when we see where he grabbed a heifer, which is a beeves or cow type animals, and then a she-goat, and then a ram, and then a turtle dove and a pigeon. Now, he didn't cut the birds up, but he cut the others up and walked through it. One of them showed that God did it himself. Abraham didn't have anything to do with it. But those are things that they would do. See? But anyway, he was telling him that I'm going to bless you, and he told him that he would be his protection, his shield. So he didn't really have to worry about nobody doing nothing to him. But his flesh come in sometime, and he got scared, and he started telling lies to try to save his life. But God loved him, and God kept his word anyway. See? And didn't deviate one bit. And Abraham survived, and God made him wealthy. He made him famous. See? And he started the church that came from the Old Testament. Now, that's not an Old Testament word, but it only means assembly. So it's the same meaning, English word. But the thing is, he did it. And he was doing it so that people would know him. That the whole globe would know who God was. And that's our place today. God's still working. We're supposed to tell people about God. I knew a woman once that I really liked, and I told her how God, one time, my tire messed up. You may have heard me say this. And I said, Lord, I can't get to work. I got to make money to be able to get tired. The Lord just spoke. And I reacted. See? And took off that tire, took it down, put air in it. The tire had holes in it. You could see the cloth. You could see the circles around because my wheel alignment went out. And them tires, when I took it off and put air in that, air stayed in them tires 2 weeks till I went to Sears and Roebuck up there on Martin Luther King, used to be Eastern and Kings Highway, and got me 2 new tires. And her words were, you really think God was talking to you? I didn't say a word to her. I just kept it in my head what she said. So that tells me you don't believe in God and you have no faith in God. Now, supposed to be an important person, supposed to have been a pastor's wife in all this and make a statement like that. Then when she started saying other things, I kept that in the mind too. And finally, God gave me 2 dreams, and one of them was telling me, pass her up. And I passed her up. I obeyed what God said. and I could have liked that woman, see. But the point, very educated. But they didn't have faith in God. And you don't want to be a part of nobody, especially the married. Now, you try to get them saved, but you ain't going to marry them if they don't believe in God. Because you're going to make your life miserable. I heard your testimony the other Sunday, and my sister did the same thing. The Lord sent me to her. God's always working. And said, he's for you, but wait for the fulfillment. They tried to turn around. My other sister said, you didn't hear him what he said. I was on my way to work, and I had to go do this real quick because I had 2 hours from my call and to the time I get to work. I rushed in, told them, and left. She married. They said when he got on the altar, he saved. Altar don't mean you getting on the altar that you saved. They say he saved, now you can marry him. She married him, he never went to church. And found out he had another family. See? But if she had waited for the fulfillment, he would have confessed all this and either got it straight. See? Then you might could have married her. But see, she didn't listen to what God said. I wept and I cried because I thought she was lost. The Lord spoke to me. But he showed me her in the backyard on a barbed wire twin-size bed with barbed wire cover and barbed wire wrapped around her head. I just began to weep, thinking my sister is lost. The Lord spoke to me and said, she can be saved, but she's going to suffer. We suffer down here for things that we do. And she turned out to be an invalid in a wheelchair. Arthritis took her over, and she was a cripple. She died at 71 years old. God did let her leave 10. But he took her out. God's always working. Always working. So I'm giving you in the hands of LMO.
That is a good word. That's a good word. And we just thank God for it. I didn't get a chance to hear the first word. I know y'all did. And Ella Reed's an excellent teacher. Let us say amen for him. Give him another hand. Sister Word is coming with our review. Let us say amen for her.
We thank God for the lesson on this morning and how well it was taught. And I'm just going to do the lesson overview. Life need for today's lesson, it says, many tasks seems daunting or even impossible for mere human efforts. And as you listen to what the teacher was saying on this morning and how that Abram just readily obeyed God without so much of questioning, he took God at his word and he moved on out to a land where God would show him. So that was faith at work, and he just moved on faith because God is a God of faith. And that's what he's requiring of us today. God is always working no matter what the situation is, no matter how unseemly, the word said how daunting, but how unseemly it seems to be. If God tells us to do something, that's what he's expecting for us to do. And he's expecting us to do it like he said it, and how he, just exactly how he said it. And now I think I listened to the young man back there. He asked the question that, is there some difference in the curse? Say that again. That bless you, and I will curse them that curse you. All right. Now, in that situation, we find out that when God has set his anointing upon your life, when you're living upright, when you're doing all you know to do to please God, and then there are those that don't understand your walk with God, and they begin in that curse, in this sense, seemingly, they would do evil things to you. They will put blocks in your way. They do what you name what the evil might be, and they are trying to stop you from being faithful to God and doing righteously whatever God done told us to do, loving people, forgiving people, not condemning people. Okay, now say that you're doing the best you know how to live safe and to live right, but then there are haters, coveted people. People that don't want you to walk upright. People that don't want you to do what God say do and keep in his word. And then they start saying evil things about you. Well, look at her or look at him. They think they so much. You think you all of that? A bag of chips or whatever it is? Yeah, you that and you're so much more. If you are obeying God. But now that person that's trying to curse you, God is watching over you. He's always working. He's always, and he never changes love, even when we disobey. Thank God for his love. So if you are running around cursing that person who's trying to do the will of God, that thing gonna fall up on you instead of happening to the person that you're trying to block and that you're trying to curse. God himself will do that. So what I said with my own self, I'm going to obey God whether you think I'm obeying him or not, whether you like it or not. I'm going to do the right thing no matter what you say, no matter how you condemn me, no matter how you try to make me feel bad about doing right. Keep on doing right. Keep on doing the will of God. The second one is the Bible learning. Believers can discover how God provides opportunities to accomplish many tasks and make new opportunities. God is always wanting to bless his people. That's him always working. He always wants to give us an opportunity to be blessed. He always wants to do that. So the person that curses, we don't worry about them because they're going to get theirs. He will allow that evil that they try to put off on you come on them sometimes more than what they try to do to you. So I thank God that when we obey him and when we have faith in his unfailing word, we're going to come out on top every time. Every time, I don't care how you thought that you have had a plan so hard that you could, I'm thinking about